Two. We are live. We are live. What is up, everybody? Austin prechtelevate Performance, coming at you live today for the podcast. And I am joined today by a special guest, an awesome guest, a client of mine. She's an absolute badass when it comes to her journey and her goals. And her name is Christine. And so, Christine, say hi.
Hello. I'm very nervous.
And she informed me before we kicked this episode off that she was extremely nervous. So I'm just going to call attention to it from the very beginning, so that way it gets out of the way, and it either makes it a lot better or a lot worse. Either way, it's done. So let's introduce yourself. So let's give the audience a little bit of a backstory on who you are. How old are you? What do you do for work? Where you're from, all that good stuff. So let's start there.
I am from Eastern PA. I am 32, right? I kind of stopped counting a couple of years ago.
That's fair.
Currently 32, and I'm a kindergarten teacher, actually.
That's awesome. And then as far as being a teacher and being in that kind of role, I feel like that'll be kind of a good almost segue, or a good way to frame kind of your own journey and all the learning and the teaching and continuing education and things like that our program does in terms of being on a sustainable health and fitness journey. Do you feel being in our program, do you feel kind of you're almost like a student in some ways?
Oh my goodness, yes. I laugh. As a teacher, one of my things is you will never know everything.
I love that.
I am the golden answer in my classroom because, they're 5 and they don't know much.
Yeah.
They do, but they're only so much. And as a person myself, I'm constantly self-reflecting. And I have always been okay, I've had this idea in my head of what does it mean to lose weight? What are the steps I have to take? What kind of food do I have to eat? And I am very shocked because this program really changed how I just think about it all. How I'm eating foods and everybody's aren't you trying to lose weight? I'm yeah. And I'm eating this and still losing weight.
I see that on your story all the time. I'm I see your posts on your Facebook stories, and I'm just it's the reality of the situation. It's crazy how people kind of in their heads, they have this preconceived idea of what a health and fitness journey looks like, or a weight loss journey, or what it means to be healthy or fit or whatever it may be. But a lot of that's from conditioning that has come from diet culture and the 80s and 90s and 2000s of you have to starve yourself, or you can't, you have to be afraid of carbs, or you have to be afraid of fat, or this is bad, or that, a lot of food shaming or demonization or whatever. And it's just it's but whenever you get down to it and you learn and see that's short term, not sustainable, that route that was being promoted a lot, that's not what it has to be at all. And like you said, you have people asking you, or they're you're eating that and you're on a weight loss journey, since when can you do that? It's just it can be very mind-blowing in a lot of ways for a lot of people, especially that first couple of weeks, or that first 4 weeks that when somebody works with us, and you probably had a similar experience. You're just wait, whoa, it's almost kind of you kind of peel back the layers. You're wow, okay, this doesn't have to suck nearly as much as I thought it was going to. Is a really good way of putting it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you feel that's kind of how it was?
Yes. I will say, because I am exactly as you described. Growing up, I saw my mom try all these different things, and I always thought, okay, to lose weight, you just don't eat.
Yeah.
You don't, or you eat, minuscule. And I always thought I was bigger growing up, and looking back at my pictures, I'm wow, you were just conditioned, very, and it's scary to think that, I felt so big when I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I love that I have a better, what is the word when you think of yourself?
Idea, a better self-image.
Yes, thank you. Self-image. It's so much healthier now.
Yeah.
And I've learned, I don't have to only eat salads. That's not, and I think that was part of my hesitation of starting anything. It's well, I'm going to have to really limit what I eat. I have to limit. And through your program, student wise, I've learned so much because
Mm.
all of that is just wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's so
it's wrong.
true. And I think that's the unfortunate like byproduct of like a lot of people like seeing that like growing up, or like growing up with thinking like that's what weight loss is, or that's what, you know, being fit is, or whatever. It's like they feel like they have to restrict themselves so much that it scares them from even trying, or scares them from even like starting. They're like, that looks terrible. That looks like really horrible. And like, I can't do that. And it's like, newsflash, like almost nobody can do that. Like nobody can do that sustainably. That's why you have people who, you know, do these like yo-yoing patterns with like their, you know, their weight and their health, like, you know, for, you know, indefinitely, until they find something that's, you know, until they learn, or they don't, unfortunately. But it's just like, it's crazy to think that, you know, we've all kind of like, it's the one thing that I want to kind of trail back to that you mentioned was like, you know, growing up, seeing like, you know, your mom, like, you know, trying all these different things, and like having that idea, like, again, that kind of like preconceived idea of like what, like, you know, goes into this is like starving yourself, or like not eating, or things like that. Like that is so, so common. Like that, like
Mhm.
that is something that I hear a lot whenever I'm like interviewing like somebody to be like a new client, or I'm like, you know, reading through like an application or something like that. Like I hear that a lot. Or even after somebody already becomes a client, they're like, yeah, like I grew up and this is what my mom like did, and like was so miserable all the time, and like always like calling herself like, you know, like overweight in front of like me, and it made an impact on me of what's being healthy and skinny. And it's like, and then, you know, sometimes that translates into like, you know, a lot of times like moms or grandmas or things like that, like, you know, they say things, or they not realizing the impact it can have on somebody's like, you know, mindset around health and fitness or food even. And it's like, you know, but that's what they were taught. That's how they were shown like love. Or it's like, oh, you're not gonna, you know, nobody's gonna love you if you're this, or nobody's gonna want to be with you, or you're not gonna be, you know, that kind of thing. It's just, it's rough. Like it's hard to like get out of that headspace after you've been like, you've lived and not saying that that was like your situation, but just that's like a, oh, well, okay, yeah,
It
that's
was
fair. Yeah.
my my one grandmother would always say, "Oh, you know, look at you. You can marry any man you want. Just
Mm,
watch what you eat." I'm like,
mm.
"Okay." You know, like okay, grandma, thank you. I love your advice. It
Yeah,
really it truly was. And I don't know if as a society we're kind
yeah.
of shifting gears.
I think we are a little bit. I think like also like information's getting out there more of like
Yeah.
what's true from. But the really interesting thing that you brought up is like, you know, it's almost like the opposite though for like guys though. That's the weird thing. Like that, like growing up, like I was just told like eat more, like get bulked up. Like that's like, you know, that's what's gonna make you like, you know, valuable to society or whatever. Is like, you know, be as like big and beefy as possible or whatever. Like that's like, you know, how you get love, or that's how you get ladies, or that's how whatever. And it's like, I mean, one, that's like a whole other discussion of like the male, the female gaze and all that, but also just like, you know, like, you know, it's a completely different almost like conversation of like, you know, what's gonna, you know, mean that you're like worth something in
Right.
society or to somebody is like, yeah, just like the psychology behind that's pretty crazy. But anyways, but that's really interesting though. And so for you, like it's funny enough, but today before I did this coming into this interview, I wanted to look back, and I looked back at like your initial like, you know, like new client packet that you filled out and everything like that. And I was looking at it, and I was just like, I was like, man, like, you know, checking off the box. I was like, we've like crushed your goals, like in terms of what they were. Cause like your main one was just like, you know, wanting to find something sustainable. Like that was something that like stood out to me, was like, I want to find something where I can, you know, get in shape, build muscle, like, you know, maybe lose some weight. But it, sustainable was like a key word that was in there looking back on that. And I feel like mission pretty damn well accomplished. So like kudos to you. Like honestly, like how do you like for you, like before we were working together, like what was kind of like your big like struggle kind of like coming into like a journey?
Well, so whether this is relevant or not, a few years ago, I got divorced, and
Mm-hmm.
just that stress,
Mm.
I didn't have the appetite. I dropped 30
Yeah.
pounds,
Yeah.
and I didn't really have an appetite. So I just
Mm.
ate minimal. I didn't really eat breakfast,
Mm.
salads for lunch and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I worked out a lot and everything,
Mm.
like almost every day. And I
Yeah.
walk like 9 miles, like three
Yeah.
days a week. And I started doing more because I
Mm.
I changed from full-time mom to then 50%
Yeah.
full-time, 50 half, I didn't have the
Yeah.
kids. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to do something with myself. So I just started walking and
Yeah.
working out.
Absolutely.
but it wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
I had to live, I had to do things again. And I gained all that weight back plus,
Mhm.
and I seemed to be on a track of not drastically, so to say, gaining weight,
Yeah.
but it was a continuous upward trend.
Yeah.
And I know that I had to buy a bigger pant size several
Yeah.
times over. Um,
Yeah.
but then, because I started working with you on Thanksgiving Day.
I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
No,
was
in
like,
November.
oh,
Yep.
but I got to the point where the pants I had just purchased that were a
Mhm.
bigger size were now too tight.
Yeah.
And I realized that I could not even stop myself from gaining weight, let alone lose weight.
Yeah.
And that was the point where I'm like, I need to ask for help. And
Yeah.
you and I had been talking for probably a few months
Yeah.
at that
At
point.
least I feel like, yeah,
Yes.
probably. Yeah.
I was nervous.
Oh yeah.
I had the hesitation where I'm like, I want to invest in myself, yes,
Yeah.
but I don't want to invest in something that is a short term
Mm.
fix.
Yep.
And from watching you and your other clients' stories and from talking to you, I felt secure enough to
Mm.
trust you
Yeah.
with a long term, a whole lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And we're 4 months in,
Yeah.
and I am blown away. I'm the little, I mean, there's big steps I took,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's a lot of little steps that
Mhm.
you've just taught me.
Yeah.
And those little changes are really adding up. This is a whole life of learning.
I know. It's pretty damn exciting too. It's just like and the little things add up over time. And I mean, we talk about like at the beginning when somebody starts, it's like there's a lot of things that we're gonna change, but it's gonna be a transition. Like it's gonna take time and stacking and adding these things up over time. Another thing too about it is and I think like having some sort of guidance or some sort of like mentorship in that aspect, it's like it can help get you through the times when you're questioning yourself, like because as we like when you're on a weight loss journey, like even me, like I'll be like kind of like deeper into like a cut or something with my weight loss. And I'm like, even my mind will play tricks on me a little bit. Like I'm like, I know my shit. And it's just like it's just like it's like, man, why isn't this happening? I'm like, oh no, I have to like remind myself it's just a fluctuation, or like, oh my God. But like if you're doing it on your own and this is maybe somebody's first time like learning about flexible dieting or learning about, strength training or whatever it may be, like they don't have that like background knowledge or that guidance to kind of like be like to help them chill out so they don't like self-destruct their journey, which happens a lot, really really commonly. And so I think like you kind of hit the nail on the head there with saying just like the little changes adding up over time can really make like a big difference. And not only like the little changes but being able to do them consistently, because like that's just like a lot of times people don't lack like the drive necessarily. They don't even necessarily like lack like the like a lot of times people know what they need to do, but it's like
Right.
the little like nuanced things, and also like just the like consistency factor. Like it's hard to stay consistent with something when you're totally new to it and you don't have like you don't really know like what the expectations are, what's realistic, or like and you're like, oh, you see somebody lost like 10 pounds in a week online, but it's like that's clearly not sustainable, nor was it all body fat by any stretch of the imagination. But that's neither here nor there. But it's just one of those things that like people don't realize coming into a journey, like what you can do versus what what's going to work versus what's not going to work. And so like for you, in terms of you mentioned like hesitation earlier, like and that like what was like kind of like what kind of like helped flip the switch for you in terms of being like hesitant to like working with somebody, aka like me, versus like finally being like, okay, like now's the time, like I want to make this happen. And of all times, like Thanksgiving, right? Like that's like coming into the holiday. I think one of my arguments to like get you rolling, I was like, well, like there's going to be more holidays coming up, like we may as well like learn how to do it like now versus like later, like whenever more holidays are going to come up.
I know. And I think that's the most comical part of all of it is starting on Thanksgiving. Like you're doing what on
Yeah.
and it's holiday season.
Yep.
Um, I will say if I had known then what I know now, I would have started as soon as we started talking.
Yeah.
I feel like again, the hesitation was definitely trusting your system.
Yeah.
Because there are so many different, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and there's so many different people, and they're saying a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And, I'll put this on Pinterest and I'll do this here, and I'll be like, okay. And I was telling myself, okay, Christine, you can do this. And I didn't like deeply dive into the research. I was just kind
Yeah.
of seeing what was popping up and like, oh yeah, I could do this. No, Christine, like, no. If I had, first of all, I didn't have the self-control.
Yeah.
I think what didn't help with my own self-control was, teaching is hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard professions. Everybody is
Yep.
stressed. And, I'm like, okay, I'll eat really well for a week. And then you're stressed, and stressing, I think stressing is definitely a thing for me.
Yep.
It's a thing for a lot of people I work with, for people
Yep.
I know. So we kind of, as a group, fall into this. My group, specifically me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can eat that cupcake.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace, and that's a caring thing to say because.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not a healthy thing to
And it can,
consistently
yeah.
do. And that was my problem. It wasn't like, now I can eat. I know if I can eat a cupcake. I know I can eat. Maybe tonight I'm gonna have half a cheesesteak or something.
Yeah.
The other day I had Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
Exactly. I'm working it into what I know now, when before that's how I consistently did it.
Yeah.
So I had that hesitation where I was like, oh, I could do it myself.
Yeah.
But I found your community, because it's not just you.
Yeah.
I'm in your whole community,
Yep.
and like, no, these people, like, it's working for them,
Yeah.
and it's a long haul for some of them, and they really have results.
Yep.
So I think realizing that I couldn't do it on my own.
Yeah.
And then, okay, enough people trust Austin. Let's jump on this boat. Plus, I was like, you know what? The holidays are coming. My pants are already tight.
Yeah.
We got to do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love there's so many like points there that you made, that it's just like, there's like community aspect. There's like, proof is in the pudding kind of aspect to it. It's like, you see the results, like, but then also just like, man, the holidays are coming up. And something I always try to stress to people, if they're thinking about, starting a health and fitness journey, it's like around the holidays, it's like, you probably don't want to wait. Like, cause honestly, like, you want to learn how to have a sustainable health and fitness journey through the holidays. Cause one, there's going to be more holidays. Like, they're going to keep coming. Like, and two, like, a lot of times during the holidays, people are going to get, like, if they don't start at the very least, like, I like to say maintenance is a win during the holidays. And if somebody can maintain during Thanksgiving and Christmas and that period of time, like that's a solid win, because most people are gaining like 5, 10, 15 pounds during that period of time, and setting themselves even further back from their goals when New Year's comes around, whenever they, hop on the bandwagon. It's just like, it's just not like the way you want to start it, like being in like in that headspace even. And so like, you got a head start on your goals, like coming into the New Year's, and you already learned how to do a lot of these things. And we're in the process of, mastering some of these like skill sets, and it's just like, and I mean, clearly it's paid off. And it's really interesting. Like the people that like commit like around that period of time, I don't know what it is, but like oftentimes like they excel once the new year comes around, and it's like they put in that work consistently beforehand. So it's just like all the more like, easy to implement, like whenever everybody else is on board too, and everybody's excited about their, their journeys. So that's awesome. And so, for you, like, let's talk a little bit about like your results and like how much you've crushed it. So like, we've been working together since about November now. And for you, in terms of like, mindset, like, the physical differences, things like that, like what have you accomplished? Like we've put in some freaking work, like since November. It's been pretty awesome.
It has. I will say, it's actually funny. So about 2 minutes before I jumped on here with you, I posted something on my Snapchat, because I put this jacket on. It's like a jacket. It's like hanging off of me. And I had to put it on Snap. I'm like, I think I'm melting, because this is like really loose.
That's awesome.
And I find that I just put on shorts maybe a week ago that I haven't worn for over 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, scale wise, I've gone down 10, just
I think it's about like between 11 and 12 pounds. Yeah.
But I've never been a big scale person.
Yeah.
But how I feel, how I am, I think the clothes is my favorite part because
Yeah.
again, I was on this trend of okay, time to buy new clothes, and now I'm like working my way down.
Like I gotta get rid of these. I gotta sell these or donate these clothes. I'm not going back. Like it ain't happening.
Exactly. And I think,
Yeah.
and this is probably the weird, I don't know if it's the weirdest thing you've ever heard, but like clothing wise, this specific necklace was
Yeah.
a gift to me.
Yeah.
Not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before.
Yeah.
And it was a gift from a student, and it
Yeah.
was actually very tight.
Yeah.
Um, it was purchased, I don't know, around Christmas. And then right before I started working with you, like if
Yeah.
I would lean or bend over, I was like, I might
Yeah.
snap it.
Yeah.
And now St. Patrick's Day, I took a picture and I was like, wait a second. And I went back and I'm comparing these pictures of a necklace, but I'm like, it is so, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
But so loose.
Yeah.
And, it's nice because I feel better
Yeah.
with this program. I
Yeah.
feel healthier. I'm like more stretchy. I know that's not the word, but I feel, I have two children,
Yeah.
5 and 7. I can run around with them more. I'm more
Yeah.
active
Mm.
and I feel like I look better.
Mm.
I'm getting so many compliments
Yeah.
and of course I wanted to lose weight, but
Yeah.
overall I wanted to be healthier
Yep.
and I wanted to just feel better. I wanted to feel confident,
Yeah.
and I absolutely do.
I was about to say, like, you're probably one of the most like confident people. Like when I see your Facebook stories, I'm like, oh, okay, I was like, she's feeling herself right now.
You're feeling good?
She's in
Yeah.
momentum right now. Like things are going good. Yeah, no, and like the body recomp aspect of like a health and fitness journey is just one of those like reasons why I say like a lot of times like yeah the scale's like it's one factor among many and it's something that you can look at as like a trend and something to pay attention to see if things are moving in the direction of somebody's goals that they want to achieve but like the body recomp aspect, the building muscle aspect, like the more energy, the stretchiness factor that you meant, like just all these things like that add up to like just having like a higher quality of life and just a much more enjoyable like life, like both like in body and in mind. Like I feel like for you, like yeah, like you've seen some crazy like body recomp changes and things like that, but also just like your mindset. I feel like from like when we started to like now, it's just like it's been like a complete transformation in terms of how you view your health and fitness and how you view like nutrition and like like I feel like you're somebody that like promotes flexible dieting more than like almost I do. I'm like, damn, like she loves it. I love this shit too. But like, I'm like, man, like she is like on it, like just talking about
I
everything, which I
do.
love. Like, it's like you got this like really awesome secret that's like changed your life. It's like, why wouldn't you want to like tell other people about it? Like, it's yeah, I think that's really cool, and that's just something I've noticed about you. So yeah,
Thank you. I do. And I joke because I'm a teacher. I'm like, I get paid to talk.
yeah,
Uh, but when it comes, like anybody who even says as simple as, oh, you look good. Oh, let me tell you.
yeah,
And I don't stop. And
yeah,
I have to say, I probably sound like a broken record, but the flexible dieting was so mind blowing to me.
yeah,
The fact, like, okay, here's Christine. Why does she have Chick-fil-A? She's on a diet. I fit it into my day,
yeah,
I can, and I'm like, hello, I'm going to be able to sustain this because I can still enjoy. I'm restricting in portions, but I don't have to, what is the word? When you just completely eliminate things
yeah,
from, you know,
yep,
and because I'm myself still so shocked that it
yeah,
works,
yeah,
I can't stop talking about it because I see coworkers, I see friends, and they're struggling. They
yeah,
were exactly where I was
mm,
before I started with you.
yep,
And maybe it's a teacher thing, I don't know, but
yeah,
I want to help you. I want, you know, even if I just give them some tips. I talk about
yeah,
substitution all the time. Okay,
yeah,
sour cream, I use Greek yogurt.
yeah,
And it's just those, I'm like, it's not an impossible thing. You just
yep,
maybe you need guidance, maybe you need to look into it. But
yeah,
I just, I'm not going to cry. Okay. But it really is so much easier
yeah,
to do. I'm doing this
yeah,
and I know I can. And it's not wearing and tearing at me. I don't sit down every day and I'm upset because I feel hungry.
yeah,
And I think that's the most exciting part because it's working and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is too is like, we're still in like a calorie deficit phase right now, for lack of a better word. But there's the nice thing is that once we get to a place where you're like, I'm feeling damn good, like, and you're like, I'm where I want to be right now. Like, the nice thing is that we'll, be able to put you through like a reverse diet, and then that the portion factor may not even necessarily be a factor, because we're going to build your calorie pool up and run a proper reverse diet, and then you're going to have more food probably than you're going to know what to do with, honestly, which is nice. And it's like just like case, like really good example of that is like, Erin, we brought her down to where, she just lost 70 pounds, was eating like a third of the food that she was eating at that 70 pounds up mark. But then she got down to that and we reversed diet her, and she was eating 3 times the amount. She was eating over 3,000 calories a day at like 165 ish. And it's just like, that's the power of like having a proper nutrition plan. So just know, like, that's in your future. Everybody's body responds differently to reverse
Yeah.
diets, and how and what their upper limits of calories are. But like, you're gonna be eating more food in the future. Just throwing it out there.
I'm going to do that. It's already okay.
So
Okay, keep eating, Christy. Keep eating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's exciting though. I mean, that's just like how cool it is to be like with flexible dieting. Is just it's such a powerful tool and insightful tool as well, because one thing that people don't realize oftentimes is like maybe like how much they were eating, or like how much, like, like, not saying that you can't have processed foods and things like that, because you totally can, to like, moderation in mind. But like, a lot of times people don't know what they're eating, and once they like start to track their calories and their macros and the food that they're eating, they're like, damn, like I'm eating a lot of like bullshit, or like, damn, or like they're just like, man, like, and it kind of helps pull that veil back to like show you like what you've been doing. And then it's like, okay, well, now that we're aware of what we've been doing, now we can actually do something about it. And it's that learning process. It's just that, like, that progress, not perfection mentality. Like, hey, like, this is something that I'm learning. This is something that's like a new skill for me. And like, I'm not going to be perfect at it from the beginning, but as long as I keep trying, which I'm sure is something that you probably tell your kindergartners all the time, is like, don't give up. Like, don't, it's like that. It's like, talk to yourself as you would like, your own kid or your own like students. It's just that, willingness to learn, and like also like giving yourself grace to be like, hey, like you're doing a damn good job. You're being proactive. Like, you're trying to like learn these new things. You're implementing these things. Like, that's more than 99.9% of people out there can say that they do for themselves. Like, and so I think just having that, like, that, I don't know, that give yourself grace mentality, but also always being like a student of this game called life, basically, is just something that, like, the people that do the best, I feel like in our program anyways, are the ones that are like, hungry to learn more, or they're like, hungry for that knowledge. They want to learn how these things work. And because of that, they end up like embodying those, like, skill sets and those, that mentality. And it just serves them so well. And you have that, like, and I think that's, not the only reason why, but it's one of the, part of the reason why you've just seen such like consistent success since we started, working together. And so, yeah, I just want to say, like, I'm freaking on this podcast. I'm freaking proud of you for like everything that you've been, you just been showing up. And I feel like, especially after the holidays, it was like not like a switch got flipped, but I feel like, after the holidays and things like that, it was just like, oh, like it was like game on, and we just got into like even like more momentum than we were even in before. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like you've really like embodied this idea of like a sustainable health and fitness journey. And like, I mean, you're walking the walk and talking the talk. So yeah, I don't know. It's super cool.
Thank you. Well, my first month really was from Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Yeah.
And I will say there was the learning curve of
Mm-hmm.
the whole nutrition, because like you
Yep.
said, I was a person where I was eating in, like, you have kids, you have work
Yep.
schedule, you are busting your butt and you're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
put something in your body.
Yep.
And, but it was, I think, a couple days before I started,
Yeah.
I started tracking, and I was
Yeah.
like, holy cow, this is how much I eat. Not even just eat, but then like in different liquids throughout my day, like drinking so many
Yep.
calories. I'm like,
Yep.
oh my goodness, like, this explains so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is. And I'm constantly like, okay, we're going to keep learning. We're going to keep improving.
Yeah.
And my biggest, as a teacher, as a mom, as a human, no one is perfect.
Yep.
And as long as you are, like you said, consistent, as you're
Yep.
on trend, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to have a bad day. This
Yep.
past Saturday was probably I don't know. I've been very keen on nutrition. That's my
Yep.
big thing with this program is working out.
Yep.
Sometimes I get to the like
Yep.
every week, but
Mm-hmm.
my nutrition, I'm like that will carry me.
Yep. It
And
does. Yeah.
yeah, it really does.
Yep.
I can prove it. And
Yep.
Saturday, I was like, I'm not really going to worry about my nutrition today because it was a very unpredictable day with where I was going to eat, what I was going to eat.
Yep.
Oof, went over, not by like, I don't know. I went over, but
Yeah.
then my body was like in shock. Like, what? Like, what did you just do to yourself? Because, I'm not, and, as much as I suffered through that for a
Yeah.
little, I kind of feel better about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
my body wants to be healthy.
Yeah.
I'm treating it better. I'm
Yep.
doing better for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a whole new spark as well, because I'm
Yeah.
like, here we go. Like, let's just keep going.
You've got this like this new normal, and like you've raised the waterline for like what's expected of yourself, which is like you've leveled up. Like that's never a bad thing. And I think that's something too. Like just being in like a teacher role or being in this like caregiver esque like position, right? Like I feel like whether it's you're a teacher or you are a stay at home mom or you're a nurse or you're in a position where like compassion fatigue can be a thing. Like that's like those oftentimes those are the people like they give so much like care and self-care, not self-care but care to others. They're just giving like again like a teacher does, that oftentimes like they get to that point of burnout, or they get to that point of like where their cup is empty because they've just given so much and put themselves on the back burner in order to put other people first, that eventually it gets to a point where
It's not
you're
sustainable.
yeah, it's not sustainable. And then and I feel like for you, did you feel like you were kind of like in that spot
Oh, yeah.
before coming in? Yeah, do you feel like the level of self-care that you have for yourself now is like on a kind of on a different level now than what it was before? Yeah.
I would just do things. I
Yeah.
would do house things, I would do work things, I would do mom things, I would do
Yeah.
student things. And now I take the time for myself.
Mm.
I feel like I deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, from the community,
Mm.
from my own household support.
Yeah.
And I'm, the dishes, they are going to wait 40 minutes. They're
Yep.
still
Yep.
um and but I feel so much better.
Mm.
I have more energy. I walk around some days and they're like, oh, like,
Yeah.
today I was beaming. Today,
Yeah.
Thursday is always the day that I weigh myself. I only weigh myself
Yeah.
once,
Yeah.
and I've been consistently on the downward trend.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's not Friday. Why are you so happy? I'm like, because I feel so good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that confidence and that like I don't know, like a health and fitness journey. I think a lot of times like it starts out like and maybe sometimes from like self-hate, or it can sometimes start from like a place of like negativity. But like, if you stick with it long enough, like it becomes this like journey of self-love. It's just like, man, I since I started like my own health and fitness journey, like I freaking love myself. I am a like you can ask my wife, like I'm the most confident, like I wouldn't say cocky, but like it's like on the board. I'm like, I love myself. I love like everything about me. Like I'm the shit. I know it. And like just living in that like headspace on a daily basis feels so much better
Yes.
than the alternative. Right. And like, and I see that in your own story. I'm just like, man, she is happy all the fucking time. Like, this is great. Like, I was like, every time I see your story, I'm like, damn, like, I'm like, she is like, like confident AF. Like, and it's
Yeah.
just like, well, that's a byproduct of working on ourselves. And that's a byproduct of self-care and a health and fitness journey that's sustainable and doesn't suck. Like, just like, yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah. So one last question that I have for you before we get this podcast to an end is, if you had like a couple of pieces of advice that you would give to Christine back in, this past fall before we started working together, or to somebody else who's, thinking about starting a health and fitness journey, but they're like hesitant or they're worried, or, they're, they were in kind of like the position that you were in, like the couple months prior to us working together. What advice would you give them, or like pieces of advice? Like what were the big things for you, I think?
So I definitely rehearsed this question, and I
Okay,
don't
cool.
said,
Good deal. I'm ready.
but I think for me, kind of like what we were talking about was starting right before the holidays. It's don't wait to start, because I did have all that hesitation. And, here we are, we're a few months into summer. I'm sorry, a few months about before summer, a few months before. End of the day, my mouth cannot work. For a few months before summer. And, a lot of people, like teachers, maybe it's a teacher thing. We're like, okay, we'll have more time for ourselves in the summer. And I think a lot of us just put it off. Like, well, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. You probably won't.
Nope.
You probably, that's what I loved about you, is you're so honest with all of your posts. You probably won't. You'll have another reason. You'll just want to relax. Just do it. Just do it now. Like, trust you, trust Austin. I was hesitant, and I was started earlier, but if you start now for whatever's going to come up, maybe it's wedding season for you, maybe it's summer season, you'll have the knowledge and you'll have the habits in place, so that when you have, like summer, I won't be home all the time to plan my meals. I'll be out more. I'm going to have more of a knowledge of, okay, if I'm out, what's a better option? How do I prioritize myself with this whole new summer schedule? And, it's just, knowledge really is power.
It is.
Sooner you know it, the sooner you're going to see the results. So, my slogan since I've been working with you is, it feels good to feel good. So you might as well start now.
Yeah, it really does. And I love that. That is so true. And just that concept of not putting it off, because like there's always going to be new shit that's going to come up. There's always going to be something that life will continue to throw stuff at. Everybody thinks like, oh, once I get this one thing done, then I'm going to be in this like place of just like, I'm gonna have all this stuff. You're not. Like, that's not how this works. Like, everybody's gonna have, like, something's gonna come up, and it's gonna, and very well likely be a valid thing, and that's when it's the hardest. So it's like, you may as well like create that opportunity instead of waiting for this like movie star moment, or like this next chapter of my life kind of moment to start, because it's gonna come and go, and you're gonna be wishing that you would have started sooner. And so and
I'll add to prioritize yourself. That was maybe it's a mom, maybe it's a teacher, whatever, caregiver. We give and we give, but like, this was the best investment, because like you said, I'm beaming, I'm confident, I have more energy. That's not only improving my life, but my own children. And I'm sure I'm a little bit happier, all around.
Absolutely.
So investing in yourself, really, it just carries across your whole life.
It does. And you're setting the example too now for like your kids, and also like, like you're just a happier like version of yourself, and everybody benefits from that. And that's why I say, like, I mean, self-care isn't selfish. It's the least selfish thing you can do, because it's not just benefiting you, it's benefiting literally everybody else that you interact with on a daily basis. And so, I love that. So cool. Thank you. This was a freaking good one. This was a damn good one. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. And I hope that you had a good time on the podcast. And other than that, I think we'll end it here. But for anybody that's listening or watching this right now, if you want to throw your socials out there, like, where can they find you on, like, you said TikTok and Facebook or Instagram?
Yes.
They want to follow your fitness journey, or health and fitness journey.
Okay. I don't post too much. I post stories here or there, but my name, right? Honestly, I don't really know what my tags are.
That's okay. That's totally fine. This isn't the last time you guys will probably hear from her, because this was a good one. We'll probably have her back on again sometime. So
anytime.
Even more ass. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thank you so much. And on that note, guys, I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye, guys.